And when you ask that question, go back to the other video to hear the question, he will answer it. And revelation tends to be continuous and sequential. And it's line upon line, but it's also focus upon focus. Like when you're looking into a camera and you're focusing it, it gets better and better over time. And this is another limitation that we place upon God when we say, I will only hear messages if they're in a completed and perfect form. And if that's your attitude, I guess you're just going to throw the scriptures away, because there's all kinds of stuff in there that is not expressed in perfect finality. And you're never going to listen to any messenger God ever sends you. Because even when he comes himself, he has to express things line upon line because of where you are. And so if you're requiring the final truth, we're talking about mouth shutting, that's going to shut his mouth. But the point of mouth shutting, this theme, I'm talking about people shutting their mouths in response to the revelation of greater things from God. So I guess let's get back onto that topic, but I want to give you these jewels and these tools, because you might not realize the worth of them, but I am just flinging them at you all the time. And they're tools as well. They're valuable jewels and they're valuable tools. My wife is very supportive of many of my eccentricities. And one of those is that years ago, every time I went to Lowe's or Home Depot, I'd buy a shovel or I'd buy a rake and a bucket. And it didn't matter why I was in Home Depot or Lowe's. I would just I need another shovel. I need another rake. And when the aftermath of COVID started unfolding, I came home one day and I said, do you have any idea how expensive shovels are now? And she guessed like 5 times before she got it, because that's how high it was compared to what it used to be. And I said, it's a good thing we have so many shovels, huh? And she said, yeah, you were right about that one, because I'm not always right about everything. And tools, that a shovel would be worth a lot if you were suddenly in a situation where you had to grow all your food by hand, wouldn't it? And there was no gas, there were no stores, and you don't know where to find iron ore or how to smelt it or how to make a shaft or whatever. So the value of things is not always apparent, but the unfolding, increasing shares of the fullness of what could be reveals the worth of things incrementally. Okay, so Isaiah 52:15. So shall he sprinkle many nations, the kings shall shut their mouths at him, for that which had not been told them shall they see, and that which they had not heard shall they consider. And so in my own study, I have asked a lot of questions about scriptural meanings and why was this word used and what's the Hebrew and why, what are the other senses of the Greek and all these other things, and could this be rendered more plainly? And in this interactive process, I've generated text and refined text, and I go back to it every time God teaches me something new. I keep it reconciled to my present sincere understanding. And in my reflection, I would currently today re-render this text as follows. This is not a translation. This is just my reflection. Through the ideas he disseminates from heaven, as a priest flinging blood, oil, and water onto the object he sanctifies, he will end the smugness of the false security previously enjoyed by many nations. Even the greatest among them will shut their mouths, because they will see what they had never been shown, and they will understand what they had never before considered. Now, I don't want to expound on the first sentence in that right now, but this is about the end-time servant, and the references to the sprinkling. That's a very rich word in Hebrew. I said I'm not going to expound on it, and here I go. I won't say all things about this that I'd like to right now, but the sprinkling, it doesn't mean sprinkle. It's what the priests did with this hyssop, which is a plant, and they dipped it in blood, oil, and water according to prescriptions of ordinances, and it's the verb used for what the high priest did on the Ark of the Covenant and on sacrifices and to sanctify objects that were used in the temple. It's the word used when you take the blood of the lamb on just prior to the Exodus and you put it on the lintel of the door. So blood, oil, and water are all different symbols of different aspects of what God provides. And, we'll leave that at that. But that ending the smugness of false security previously enjoyed by many nations is really important. That sense is in the Hebrew. It's a little extrapolation. It mixes in ideas from other places in the scriptures, particularly Isaiah. It's a theme. But it's not just that he sprinkles nations, right? This person, this end times character, the servant of God, this priest, he, in doing so, in revealing what he reveals, remember how Gabriel came and just standing there, he didn't even say anything, just standing there before he said anything, Daniel's comeliness turned to corruption. The comeliness of the world is complete corruption. Daniel's was his best attempt at finding and following righteousness from God. The world is Babylon. It's fallen. Everything's an illusion. It's false. It doesn't endure. It's made up. The glory of the world is a social construct. Everything else that they say, maybe not so much. But it will all come crashing down. And anyway, ironically, these things are coupled because when truth is revealed, consequences come with it. And all of a sudden, what was sufficient to withstand the very much held back share of reality becomes insufficient and it collapses. And there are reasons for why the collapse is so sudden. But anyway, that's not what I want to talk about. I want to end this on this thought that what the reason I bring this up is about the shutting of the mouths, because I want to tell you don't do that, right? And I've kind of told you how this might not look how you would think it would look if you just read the words and thought, well, what does this look like? But you probably do this, okay? That's a finger wag. You probably do this, and you really shouldn't. You really shouldn't. So, right, what does this mean? The shut their mouths, what does it mean? We go back to the word astonished. They're so shocked at what they've been told because it's so different from whatever they've been told, but also because it suddenly takes everything they thought they knew and just makes it look like a paper bag lunch. Like, who even cares, right? Who even cares? You need to understand, end time servant, whatever. Let's talk about Jesus. That's the point of all of it. When he came to that woman at the well, all he did was say, you're not married right now, but you're with a guy and you've been with a bunch of other guys. Do you know what she said to her people back in town? She said, I found the Messiah because he told me everything I've ever done. This is really sad. I don't know the lady, but I feel bad for her because she identified everything she'd ever done with the 7 guys she had slept with. That's pretty sad, but that she didn't have more meaning in her life. But that's how she interpreted it. It was so huge. What everyone reacts to the blasting of light differently. But she reacted to this tiny chunk by saying, I found the Messiah. and you should come hear him. So we talked before about the role other people can have in promulgating God's word and his glory and his goodness and his character. This is an example. He got an in with all the other people there in Samaria through this lady. And she was willing to say, hey, she didn't exaggerate she exaggerated, let's be honest. But she said, look, this was a real conversation I had with the guy. This is what happened. If you do what I asked you to and you read John 9, it's a much better example. That guy never exaggerated what Jesus did. He went step by step, acknowledging exactly what he had seen to the level he had seen it. And that was enough for them to throw him out of their church. But it doesn't take much with the wicked, right? But that was the path to coming up to knowing